Alright, Friday the 13th is clearly one of the best slasher films of all time, and the iconic character Jason Voorhees only adds to the film's popularity. Although Jason is known for his distinctive hockey mask, he has various other physiological traits that make him stand out among other slasher villains. After drowning at Crystal Lake and re-emerging as this terrifying entity, Jason has become a part of various films in this franchise, and his character has also undergone several changes over time. Today, we will explore all the crazy physiological details of this psychopathic killer and tell you everything about his anatomy. Before we dive into our explanation, we have a small request. If you enjoy our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's get started. What does this face look like under the mask? Considering that Jason Voorhees is known for the hockey mask on his face, fans of the franchise will remember the real face he hides under the mask. Although the film keeps his face reveal until the climax, Jason's unmasked face is never the same throughout the franchise. In the film Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason has long hair and a beard under the mask, which is not one of his most famous looks, but it still manages to scare the audience. In the third installment, Jason has a quite iconic face reveal where he is depicted as a tall, bald, and muscular figure with deformed eyes. He also has a creepy smile that is much more frightening compared to his hockey mask. The film The Final Chapter was released in 1984, showing Jason with an enhanced appearance. Where Ted White played the character, special effects artist Tom Savini worked hard on Jason's appearance in this film, especially in the scene where Jason is attacked by a machete to the head and then emerges with a bloody, deformed face. The fifth installment of the franchise showcases a different version of this character, where a paramedic named Roy Burns wears prosthetics to make himself look like Jason. After this appearance disappointed fans, support for Jason's grand return increased, where he was revealed in a rotting undead appearance that made him look like a zombie. The seventh installment of the franchise even solidified the zombie Jason appearance, where he appeared in a much more terrifying and disturbing form, with a deformed face, rotting teeth, and damaged features. Jason is in his most undead form. Jason's face has some slimy features where his skin appears to be melting. There is also a reboot film released in 2009 that pays homage to Jason's human form where he originally wore a burlap sack instead of a hockey mask. The secret behind the damaged eye socket is in the fourth part of the franchise, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, where Jason is stabbed in the eye with a machete which causes permanent damage to his left eyeball. The directors of the subsequent films took note of this detail, which is why Jason is often seen with a damaged eye socket. In Jason Goes to Hell, the directors made a small mistake where they showed his right eye being damaged instead of the left. However, this mistake was soon corrected and the following releases show Jason's left eye back in a damaged state. Oh yeah, menapa Jason menjanakan toping. Toping hoki Jason tela menjadi salah satu siri kaznia yang paling menentukan. Para penggemar sering bertanya-tanya menapa dia memiliki topeng yang begitu unik. Sudah menjadi tradisi di antara para penjahat slasher untuk mengenakan topeng, terutama pada tahun 1970 dan 80-an, dan Jason Voorhees termasuk di antara para penjahat ini yang membentuk identitas abadi dengan penampilan bertopeng mereka. Setelah Jason yang masih muda tampaknya tenggelam, kemudiannya, Jason mengenakan topengnya untuk menyembunyikan wajahnya yang kekat, sebagaimana yang dia lakukan bahkan sebelum kemudiannya yang tampak. Dia menderita hidrocephalus dan berbagai disabilitas mental, serta lebih memilih untuk menyembunyikan wajahnya agar orang-orang tidak melihatnya dan untuk mengatasi ketidakamenannya. Setelah kemudiannya yang diduga, Jason kembali ke dunia sebagai sosok yang disebut undead, dan pada awalnya dia biasa mengenakan karung goni di atas wajahnya dalam film ketiga. Jason finally gets his hands on the hockey mask he's been wearing for so long. While one might think there must be a specific reason for this particular mask, it's actually just a coincidence. The crew was testing lighting, but they didn't want to use makeup just for a few test runs. The 3D effects supervisor happened to have some hockey gear on set, and he suggested Jason's character wear this mask temporarily. The mask enhanced Jason's appearance and gave his character a sinister vibe. They then decided to create a new hockey mask and added some red triangles to enhance the look. Can Jason switch bodies? While Jason already possesses a number of impressive superpowers and abilities, his ability to switch bodies and transfer his soul into another being is one of his coolest. This is clearly seen in Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, which reveals that evil resides within Jason's heart and that he can use it to control others. When a medic eats Jason's heart in the film, Jason's soul is transferred into his body, causing him to become evil. This scene caused considerable controversy, with the actor playing the medic nearly vomiting after eating the artificial heart made of candy. Can Jason Voorhees reproduce? What would happen if he raised a child? Jason clearly has intimacy issues and often targets teenagers or young adults seeking intimate relationships. Jason's death as a child was caused by the neglect of a camp counselor, who was busy having sex while he drowned. After being revived, Jason developed a hatred of sexual intercourse and even felt responsible for punishing teenagers who engaged in such activity. Given Jason's aversion to physical intimacy, it is highly unlikely he would engage in such relationships and reproduce. It should be noted, Jason is an immortal being and it is possible that he could never reproduce or have children even if he changed his mind. Furthermore, Jason also does not seem mentally prepared to raise and care for a child. However, if he were to somehow adopt a child or take one under his wing, he would still be unable to provide for them, feed them, and care for them. Even though Jason can kill almost anyone or anything, the child would still have to grow up on their own, and there is a high possibility that the child might grow up without a sense of right or wrong. This would increase the likelihood of the child becoming a sociopath after living under Jason's influence. Although Jason has issues with intimacy, the Crystal Lake memoir in the third installment of the franchise hints that Jason forced himself on Chris. However, there are many fan theories regarding this incident, with some fans believing that Jason never did anything of the sort and that it is all purely a product of fans' imaginations. Contrasting theories suggest that some believe he may have forced himself on another victim, while others suggest that the creators planned to show a scene where Jason forced himself on Chris, but the actress who played Chris refused to act in such a scene, and they decided to leave it ambiguous. However, the scene implies that Chris felt violated, and his girlfriend even stated that she would never let anyone touch her again. While some fans stand by their stance and insist that Jason would not have forced himself on a victim, others argue that Jason is inherently evil and should not be taken lightly by anyone. In this film, the creators wanted to show that Jason had forced himself on Chris when they met earlier in the story. They wanted to show this scene right at the end of the film so that the audience would have the satisfaction of seeing her devastation after finding out. Regarding his actions, they ultimately decided against it because it would have been too dark and would have only kept the scene blurry, giving Jason little chance of justification. Did you know that Jason suffers from a strange, rare disease? Jason was born with a condition known as hydrocephalus, which is a fairly rare disease seen in some humans. Hydrocephalus causes a large accumulation of fluid inside the skull, putting pressure on it and forming a deformed structure. This condition also compresses a person's brain, resulting in mental disabilities. Jason's childhood was largely spent in isolation after his mother decided to isolate him from society and not even allow him to attend school. Jason became very close to his mother after always being with her, which eventually led to him acting out in antisocial ways and displaying violent tendencies. Jason covered his face for most of his life to prevent others from realizing his condition. Jason possesses a surprisingly high level of intelligence despite being a non-living demon. Despite his shortcomings, he displays impressive reasoning abilities even in his non-living demon form, demonstrating high-functioning intelligence and abilities when preying on his victims. He is capable of setting traps intended to capture his victims and possesses a good sense of direction and strategic planning abilities, despite his various physical disabilities. He can even carefully tie up his victims to avoid detection, and can navigate places well and always finds his way back to Crystal Lake, regardless of how far he travels to attack them. He also attacks his victims in unique and creative ways in his killings. Jason never targets two people the same way and is quite adept at carrying out his killings, even arranging corpses as obstacles. He is also quite stealthy and would have no trouble fleeing the scene or making his presence undetected beforehand. Finally, cornering his victims and shocking them. How strong Jason is, after turning into an undead or zombie creature. If you want, Jason gains supernatural powers and his physical abilities are greatly enhanced. he immediately shows his newly acquired abilities by punching someone's body and gouging his heart out of his chest cavity with just one punch, and he is strong enough to punch concrete or metal. Jason can decapitate a person with just one punch, and even break a person's limbs or entire body by tearing them in half with their bare hands. Jason even once threw a man with a single punch and even severed his arm with his body, and even once smashed the girl's face into metal with just one hand. He performed some very horrific actions with the help of his physical abilities, and he once even twisting a girl's head and even killing 3 people at once by swinging a machete through their entire body at once. She was also resistant to pain and could withstand fatal injuries without dying or feeling pain. After transforming into his zombie form, Jason is essentially immortal and doesn't suffer from physical illness or even age like a normal human. He has supernatural endurance and can withstand any attack aimed at him. Even when he dies after being attacked, Jason is always able to regenerate the injured body part and recover himself. Jason has slowly grown taller as time has gone by. Jason's towering presence is one of his strangest traits, and it seems that Jason's character is also getting taller over time. When Warrington Gillette played Jason in the movie Friday the 13th Part 2, the character was 6 feet 1 inch tall. Richard Booker played this character in the 3rd installment, and he was even taller at 6 feet 3. Jason's height continued to increase throughout the franchise as Kane Hodder played this role in the 7th installment and is now 6 feet 3.5 inches tall. Derek Mears played this character in 2019 and has now reached 6 feet 5. Can Jason swim after being killed by drowning? After Jason was presumed to have drowned to his death in Crystal Lake by a group of bullies, he somehow gained the ability to swim after returning as the infamous masked killer, despite not being able to swim before. Jason can swim at supernatural speeds and even gained the ability to walk on water afterward. While Jason could swim underwater, his death caused him to develop an irrational fear of water, and he was briefly defeated when Tommy sank him to the bottom of Crystal Lake. Jason possesses god-like levels of invulnerability. He is essentially immune to all forms of human disease and poison, and any bacteria, viruses, or illnesses that cannot harm him are completely invulnerable. The only exception is that he can be sedated and put to sleep. This is evident in the film Freddy vs. Jason, where Freddy overpowers Jason and injects him with 2 syringes of tranquilizers. Furthermore, Jason is essentially invulnerable, and no bacteria or viruses can harm him. However, is Jason immortal? How can he be defeated? Although Jason has died before in the franchise, he returns as an undead creature who cannot be killed in any real way. He remains a young and strong man unaffected by aging or physical ailments, and he is essentially invincible. Jason can be attacked by his opponents using weapons such as guns or knives, but he has incredible regenerative abilities and can always recover from many wounds. He does have a zombie-like appearance and some exposed bones that appear to be deteriorating. While this suggests that Jason's regenerative abilities are imperfect, there's no guarantee that he will die from his deteriorating body one day, as he can always heal major tissue damage quickly. Jason differs from most undead entities in that he is demonic in nature and has been killed and revived numerous times throughout the franchise. His demonic soul can also transfer from one person to another through a grotesque figure known as a Hell Baby, which can possess its victims' bodies and destroy them to remain immortal. Jason continues to possess people from his bloodline, and it's even revealed that his mother made a deal with the devil to bring her son back to life after his first death. This is a crossover between Friday the 13th and the Evil Dead franchise, where the evil demons communicate with the living through the Necronomicon. Jason's mother used the same book to bring him back to life, further strengthening the theory that he remains immortal despite being killed multiple times in the film's climax. Tommy Jarvis once attacked Jason with a machete and even chained him to the bottom of a lake to kill him. He was once blown up and sent to hell through magic, but Jason always returned to life after regenerating himself. While Jason can be temporarily defeated, he can never be completely destroyed, and he will continue to find a way to return. In conclusion, to summarize, Jason Voorhees plays a significant role in the success of the Friday the 13th franchise, and he is certainly a compelling character. He also possesses many remarkable physiological features and remains one of the most iconic slasher killers of all time. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day and stay safe. Thank you all.